Australia, the land down under, is experiencing a poker boom ignited by a native son and reigning world champion, Joe Hacham. Melbourne's spectacular Crown Casino plays host to the largest poker tournament in Australian history, boasting a prize pool of more than $3 million, with $1 million going to the winner. Recognized as one of the world's premier tournaments, the event has drawn the biggest names in the game from around the globe to compete with the best from down under and see who'll come out on top in the partypoker.net Aussie Millions. Many of the world's best have been sent packing, leaving the field open for the remaining competitors who return to the Crown Casino to vie for the $1 million first prize. Tonight's feature table includes the magician, Antonio Esfandiari, who'll sit alongside World Series of Poker bracelet winner Kathy Liebert and the young American gun, Michael Gratz. It's the partypoker.net Aussie Millions. We welcome you back to the Crown Casino. We are in Melbourne, Australia. I'm Barry Tompkins, my partner, the noted poker author, Michael Konik. 39 remaining out of a field of 418. Here's the chip count at our main table. Michael Gratz, the chip leader. Down at the bottom, Kathy Liebert is short stacked right now, along with David Natoli, Bay, Esfandiari, and Thorne, all very much in the fray. We're playing poker.
The blinds are 2,000 and 4,000, so even our short stack, Kathy Liebert, doesn't really have to panic right now. She has more than 25 times the big blind, certainly enough to get respect from these other players.
Michael Gratz, nothing to be proud of. Thorne will throw away that 9-6. Natoli with a jack-9 suited.
He's in the small blind trying to pick up the big blind here, but he's run into a big hand. The magician Esfandiari, ace-king suited. He will surely raise.
34,000 now.
Giving Natoli pause.
Yeah, Natoli put in a 9,000 chip raise there, trying to just sneak away, and Esfandiari said, let's get serious, 34,000 more.
And it's Natoli who folds the 10. Esfandiari wins that hand. Let's talk a little bit about how you play this game.
Yeah, the Aussie Millions uses no limit Texas Hold'em. Each player gets 2 down cards, the whole cards. Then they may call, raise, or fold. The dealer then puts out 3 community cards, which we call the flop. There's more betting, raising, or folding. And a 4th card, the turn card. Another round of betting. And finally, the ultimate card, the river card. Players can move all their chips at any time. This is called all in. At the end of the hand, players reveal their whole cards, and the best 5-card hand wins and takes the pot.
Well, it all sounds pretty easy. We know better, don't we?
That's why we're sitting here watching these great players.
Exactly. Thorne with a 9-8.
Be careful. Big money. Over.
Esfandiari working him a little bit. Esfandiari will call with a 10-7. Here's a hand. They're going to think about it, although I don't really think he has to.
This is certainly a hand he'll want to play. I think he's contemplating a raise and just wants to get the right amount. He says 40,000 more.
40,000.
Scares Grass off the ace-8.
Now, Thorne and Esfandiari tried to get in cheap with their speculative drawing hands. 40,000 is not cheap enough. I expect both these players to fold here.
Thorne does. Esfandiari does as well.
It's that easy.
It's that easy, says Esfandiari, and it was that time for Bay.
So far, we've seen players try to take advantage of the blinds, and unfortunately, the pre-flop raiser has run into big hands twice in a row. That won't happen every time, but that is one of the dangers of raising with garbage.
Until the ace little gets rid of it, Esfandiari looks like he's going to play with an ace-10.
Standard raise, 3 times the big blind.
Bay will not be a part of it, nor will Gratz.
Now, Liebert already has 2,000 in the small blind, but 10,000 more and a 10 deuce is not warranted. She gets out of there, and Thorne has the best hand.
Yep, I think Esfandiari will get challenged here.
Make it 25.
25,000 says Thorne.
Very peculiar raise, only 13,000 more, giving Esfandiari an excellent price to try to run down the best hand.
So 2 to the flop. And here is the flop. Queen deuce 4 on the flop, no help.
And although the magician has the ace of clubs, he would need 2 running clubs to make his flush.
20.
That's a highly unlikely proposition, and this bet by Mr. Thorne should take down the pot.
Esfandiari will think about it for a moment, although I can't imagine that he does throw it away. So Thorne will win this hand, and the chips being spread around the table as we begin play today. Esfandiari will think about that one, but did the right thing. Little bonus coverage now as the defending champion here, Jamil Dia, is in a heap of trouble against Kenna James.
I would say, Barry, Jamil Dia looks like he's going to get all his chips involved. He says he's all in, and as we see with the graphic, he has 0% chance to win the hand. There is no card that can come on the river to save Jamil Dia, and the defending champion will be out of the Aussie Millions.
At the hands of the cowboy, Kenna James. And just like that, Dia is gone. Doesn't matter what the river card was. So Kenna James moves on, and Jamil Dia's day is done. Tournament that he won just 1 year ago. 39th place, does get a little paycheck. Nothing like last year, though.
And Barry, Jamil Dia does not seem amused by this turn of events, particularly since he and Kenna James have been tangling together all tournament. And now he's going to have to watch Kenna James play with what once was his chips.
Well, the partypoker.net Aussie Millions is brought to you by partypoker.net, the world's largest poker school. We welcome you back. Let's take a look at the tournament structure, how this Party Poker Millions is put together. Started with 418 players. It was a $10,000 buy-in. Over $3 million was in the prize pool. The top 48 players wind up in the money. Hi again, everybody. Barry Tompkins, Michael Konik alongside. And Michael, now everybody's going to get at least a piece of the pie. So how do things change from here on out?
Well, it's a very different psychological mindset. What could have been a rather expensive vacation down under now becomes a potentially profitable experience. All these players are on what amounts to a free roll. It's all upside. But with that freedom comes a tendency to be a little bit reckless, and you've got to be careful to not play with so much abandon that you just give away your chips. We're going to be watching to see which players can take advantage of the situation and build up a nice lead.
6 great players. Let's get right to it. The blinds are still 2 and 4,000 with a 500 chip ante, so 9,000 in the pot. And Esfandiari really has the goods here.
Jacks it up 12,000. The other players are going to have to find a real hand now if they want to play.
Not going to be Michael Gratz.
Oh, Liebert has one. She says she's all in.
Just like that, right into the teeth of Esfandiari.
Now, Barry, Liebert's in a very strange position right now because of her short stack. Normally with her hand, she probably wouldn't want to raise 106,000 more on top of a pot like that, but she's in that position where anything less probably isn't enough, and so she's going to have to go with the 8s.
Do you have a pair?
That was kind of a tell-all, wasn't it?
Guess it's now or never. What do you have, ace jack?
The magician is trying to make her disappear.
118 total? Total.
You know, as long as Kathy Liebert doesn't have kings or aces, I think Esfandiari is going to be willing to play this hand here. He knows he's at worst about 50-50 against most hands, and if he was fortunate enough to stumble into an ace-king versus ace-queen or ace-jack kind of situation, he'll have a huge advantage. And there we see it. He's all in, and Liebert, in the coin flip, actually has a nice little edge on this hand.
And now the flop. 9, tray 7.
Esfandiari will need an ace, king, or running clubs. There's one.
Ooh. So a flush draw now
never
for
easy, right?
Esfandiari, and you can see he's still the underdog here. And it's a 7. And a big sigh of relief.
Just sweat a little bit on the 10.
Kathy Liebert, as she had to guts it out right down to the last card and managed just to double up through Esfandiari.
I never win with ace king. It doesn't seem fair that other people should win with it against me.
And all of a sudden, Kathy Liebert is healthy again. 245,000 in that pot. She's now a force. And the magician is now rather low.
Well, it's just as you were saying. You're already in the money. Go for it. She did. She wins. As we said, a very experienced player is Kathy Liebert. But that said, has a lot of respect for the young players she's sitting with.
It's amazing how many young players are playing these major tournaments these days. A lot of them are 20-something years old, and they are really good considering they've had not that much experience. I think the growth of the internet and the growth of poker on TV has really made a lot of these young players very competitive very quickly, and they're tough, and they're not afraid to put their chips in. You know, it's tough to bluff these young guys too. I mean, they don't have a lot of fear. You know, I mean, with inexperienced players, you don't know if they're willing to put their chips in with a marginal hand, what kind of hands they're willing to play. So I would say that in general, you don't really want to try to bully the young guys and try to show them. You kind of want to have a hand against them because they're likely to call you or make a move. You know, they're unpredictable.
I think she makes a very good point, actually.
She makes a great point, and the phenomenon that I'm just so stunned by is where all these kids in their 20s come up with a $10,000 buy-in. I mean, I was happy to buy macaroni and cheese at that age.
That's right. Kathy Liebert again with an ace-10 suited.
And moreover, as Kathy pointed out, they're willing to gamble with that big buy-in. They will move their chips.
It's amazing what happens when you have no sense of value, isn't it? Natoli with a little pair.
And he calls Kathy Liebert's 16,000 chip raise there, hoping to spike a 2 and win a very big pot.
Now Bay with a decision, ace little suited. Here's one of those young players, actually, that Kathy Liebert was referring to.
Yeah, and he's getting 3.5 to 1 on his call. He probably doesn't think his ace-4 is the best hand, but he could make something big with it. Well, there's a 4.
Yep, 10 queen and the 4. So pair for Bay, and of course a higher pair for Liebert.
Natoli has completely whiffed on this flop, and so any sort of bet should probably get him out of there.
And Liebert will make that bet, which will likely get Natoli out, and does.
Now Bay really doesn't have much of a draw here. He's got bottom pair and no straight or flush possibilities, and he makes the correct fold.
Yeah, he does. He throws it away, and Kathy Liebert will win yet another hand. Look at the stack that she has. She was short stacked just a few moments ago before doubling up through Esfandiari, and now bounces right back and wins this hand. So Kathy Liebert is on a roll right at the moment. We're coming back to the partypoker.net Aussie Millions. We welcome you back to the partypoker.net Aussie Millions. Barry Tompkins, Michael Konik alongside. Our main table, a good one tonight. Very competitive here at the Crown Casino. Beautiful evening in Melbourne, Australia. Antonio Esfandiari, who lost a whole bunch just a few moments ago, still trying to hang in there. He's a World Series of Poker bracelet winner, and, you know, he loves playing here in Melbourne, he says.
This is by far the best structured tournament I've ever played. Blinds go up very nice and slow. The rounds are an hour and a half, and you get a break after every round, which is the way it should be. It's the perfect structure for a tournament. Early on in the tournament, I was in a couple of really bad spots, and I ended up getting very lucky to come back and get to where I am now. But the last 2 days, I think I've played very well, yeah. My style is usually pretty aggressive, and I usually like to have a lot of chips, and I usually do. However, right now I don't, so I can't really do the Antonio stuff. I kind of have to take it easy and wait for the right opportunity to do whatever I can.
There's a very distinct difference playing with a big dominating stack and a small I just need to hang around stack.
Which is where he is right now. Liebert a little pair here.
The great thing about Esfandiari and all these very seasoned pros is they know how to play with both kinds of chip stacks and even the in-between. And I'll tell you what, that will help right there.
I would think so. I doubt that he's going to get contested by Bay, and he won't.
Well, now he's got to hope Grotz in the big blind finds something.
Let's see.
Yeah, Grotz only needs to put in 8,000. He gets a discount because he's in the big blind, so Esfandiari is hoping Grotz will catch just enough on the flop to get in trouble. Ooh, and that might do it.
Could.
Grotz probably will check here, knowing that Esfandiari will bet this flop. What Grotz doesn't know is that Esfandiari is holding the boss hand.
Yeah, he is. 15,500 is the bet.
About half the pot. That's a very enticing bet. I expect Grotz to play here. He's caught a big piece of the flop. Middle pair.
Grotz trying to get a read on Esfandiari, and I think failing in that regard. Queen on the turn, and that. This is the partypoker.net Aussie Millions, brought to you by partypoker.net, the world's largest poker school. Barry Tompkins, Michael Konik. This is our main table, and a very competitive table it has been. Thorne, having just lost a pretty good-sized hand to Esfandiari, will throw away that. Esfandiari has been a participant a lot. 13-5.
And Barry Esfandiari told us in his interview he likes to try to build up a big stack, and this is one way of doing it, getting involved in a lot of hands, raising it up, hoping to spike something big on the flop. Oh, and Grotz calls with the ace-8.
Well, he's had good success with that before. Kathy Liebert has an ace also, but with a 4.
And Liebert's in the big blind. She's getting a nice discount. It's only going to cost her 8,500 more to get involved here. Again, she probably doesn't think she has the best hand, but there are a lot of drawing possibilities.
So 3 players to the flop, Liebert, Grotz, and Esfandiari, and here is the flop.
Whoa!
Oh,
Kathy Liebert flops a wheel.
That is about as good as you can get.
And there are no flush possibilities out here. I like her checking here. She's supposed to just have some raggedy hand in the big blind. Esfandiari showed strength before the flop.
34,000 for Esfandiari.
Yeah, and he's trying to represent that he had some sort of big hand.
I think he picked the wrong hand to do this on.
Kathy Liebert is just praying that Mike Grotz comes along for the ride. And he's reaching for chips.
Yep. He calls.
Boy, he's in a world of trouble. And so is Esfandiari. They don't know what a big hand Kathy Liebert has.
Well, that flop certainly wouldn't scare anybody off.
I think Kathy just needs to call here. There's 111,500 in the pot. As we said before, no flush draw out there. I really like just calling here. Let another card come off. Hope that it hits somebody, improves their hand. Let them get frisky and then move it in. No, she's raising.
60,000 more. And that'll give Esfandiari cause for consideration, not to mention Grotz. Esfandiari gets out of the way.
Well, Grotz surely has to fold here, Barry. He has just 2 overcards. His ace looks nice. He's got a mediocre kicker. Sure, he's got the inside straight draw, the 4. but that's a very slim draw. For Kathy Liebert to raise there, she's signaling that she really has something substantial. And he makes a call. I don't get that call, Barry. I don't know what Mike Grotz is trying to make here.
I don't know. Here's the turn. It's a 9. That is of no help to Grotz.
He can only hit a 4 to tie, and Grotz must have just misread Kathy Liebert and figured, and he says he's all in. He's gonna get called, and Mike Grotz is going to lose a monster pot unless a 4 comes for a split. He is toasted.
Wow.
Kathy Liebert's just patiently waiting for all those chips to actually get in.
You're good.
And then calls.
Wow.
Grotz has got to know he's in trouble.
Well, he does
I need
now.
a 4
Yeah,
to
he
chop.
does.
All he can do is pray for a 4.
Wheel.
Wishful thinking. Only card that will help him, and even then it only gets him a split.
I'm mystified by Mike Grotz's play right there, and I think Kathy Liebert is too, but
Take it
she
easy,
will
guys.
take it.
You bet you will. And Grotz, you heard him saying, I'm out of here. And indeed he is. So Michael Grotz will leave the goings-on here in Melbourne, and I'm sure he's probably questioning that play a little bit. In fact, maybe even more than a little bit. And Kathy Liebert, a huge hand. We're coming back. We welcome you back to Melbourne. Well, Michael, when we were here in January of '06, Fidel's Cigar Lounge proved to be the ideal place to enjoy the finer things in life. It's located in the high-end mall at Crown Towers. Fidel stocking over 70 varieties, the world's finest cigars, along with a selection of spirits for the most discerning of tastes, like yours and mine.
Yummy, yummy.
Following an after-dinner cordial, you went up 29 floors to the Crystal Club. That's an oasis in the Crown Towers, high above the city. Come, enjoy the finer things in life at the Crown Tower. Bonus coverage right now as we take it to one of our outer tables. Mark Voss and Russell Davies hooking up here.
Voss says he's all in with his pair of 10s. Davies calls him. Got another classic matchup. Ace-King versus the pocket pair. And it looks like one of Davies' aces or kings has already been thrown in the muck by another player, so Voss has increased his lead.
Jack on the turn.
Davies needs an ace or king.
Didn't happen. And Mark Voss will double up through Russell Davies. So good win for him. Gets him back in the fray. We take you back to our main table now,
which only has 5 players sitting at it. Hand values go up when it's this short-handed. And a guy like the magician Esfandiari knows how to, well, look at that. He's got the ace. And he just calls. And he knows how to take advantage of these short-handed tables.
Bay with an ace-5 checks in the big blind.
Battle of the blinds.
Six, queen, 7. That doesn't help either player. 8,500 is the bet from Esfandiari.
And normally, Barry, when the flop misses everybody, the first player to show strength typically takes down the pot, but Bay smells something a little fishy here, and he calls with the worst hand.
It's another 7. That's no help.
Now, the big advantage Bay has in this hand is that he has position on Esfandiari. Bay gets to act last. Esfandiari has shown a little weakness with a check on the turn, and Bay puts in a tester bet.
It's enough. And Bay will take this one. So Bay really holding his own. Young player playing against some of the big dogs here. Going to take it to one of our outer tables once again. And here, Billy Sukar is all in against Jerry Fitz.
And unfortunately, this is not a sweet situation for Sukar. He will need an ace or a queen, and now a 10 could help him fill a straight.
Last card is a 3. And Billy Sukar.
Not going to happen. So Billy Sukar, the cousin of Joe Hacham, will take a walk.
First tournament I've played. I've only been playing for 6 months. And I came into the tournament today with 40,000. Doubled up twice, got up to about 120. As you said, I had my ace queen. And had to make a move. Had his pocket sevens and they held up.
You know, this man is... So it proves that it's in the genes. Well done, Pat. Thanks, proud of you, man.
Well, Sukar cashes and gets a kiss from the world champion.
And we're coming back. .net Aussie Millions, Barry Tompkins, Michael Konik alongside. We're in Melbourne, Australia at the Crown Casino, and our main table, let's take a look at where things stand right now. Chips have been moved all over the place. Kathy Liebert has gone from worst to first. 480,000. Antonio Esfandiari, he's hanging right in there. So is Bernard Bay, the young player, who's in some high cotton. David Matoli's in a little bit of trouble.
Well, with blinds at 2,500 and 5,000 with a 500 chip ante, David Natoli is going to have to scoot and skedaddle pretty quickly.
I don't know that that's going to do it.
Poor guy. And what a surprise, Esfandiari raises again.
Well, he's plays great when he's the chip leader or near the chip lead. See if Liebert engages here.
Yeah, she's in the big blind, so again, she'll get a discount on the call, only 8,500 to see the flop. And she's not calling because she thinks her 10-7 is necessarily the best hand. She's trying to make something with it.
So here is the flop.
Well, she catches a piece.
She does.
And now she has the best hand, and she's going to bet it. That surprises me a little bit because Liebert could reasonably expect if she checked there, Esfandiari would put some chips in the pot, and she could check raise him there and get a little extra value.
Good job by Kathy Liebert, though. Good player.
Liebert and Esfandiari are easily the two most seasoned players at the table. They're both products of the fertile Los Angeles poker scene. We all came up together.
When the girls got lucky.
They're on TV. I'm talking about them.
You're on TV.
Thank you.
Kathy Liebert and I have played a lot of poker together, and she is really one of the strongest players in the game right now. And I think she's probably the winningest female player of all time.
How about Esfandiari?
Aces again.
And this one could take Kathy Liebert with him.
Yeah, because Liebert raised here. She showed initial strength.
40,000 more from Esfandiari.
Now what Kathy Liebert needs to do is, oh, and Bay's got a pocket pair too. But remember, there's been a raise and a re-raise. This is going to be a little bit too expensive, I think, for Bay to try to draw.
You can see about that chip stack that Bay has. He has held his own against these more experienced players. One of the young players that Kathy Liebert was talking about earlier.
He has to ask himself if he wants to put in 55,000 for a chance to spike a set. Because fives alone are probably not going to win this pot, and he gets out of the way. Now Liebert has to ask herself, well, now what hands could Esfandiari be re-raising with that I can beat? And ace-8 really doesn't beat that many raising hands.
And she read it perfectly. And she throws it away, saves herself a whole bunch. And Esfandiari will win this one, but not as much as a pair of aces normally would win.
Partypoker.net is a great place for beginners to start, learn the game, hone their skills, and get out and play with these professionals and get some real good experience.
Welcome back to the Party partypoker.net Aussie Millions. Before we get back to our main table, we're going to take you out to one of our outer tables where we have another confrontation. Old Doc, West Bujera, is all in against Steve Hone.
Terrible situation for Hone. He spiked top pair with top kicker, but ran into a set of eights. Hone is going to need running cards to catch up. Otherwise, Doc Bujera is going to take down the pot.
Playing on his home turf, he's a regular here at the Crown Casino. And hello and thank you, says Doc Bujera. He wins that hand. He'll hang around a little bit more. He's going to have a payday. And we continue at our main table.
Kathy Liebert, jacks in early position. Sometimes in a full table, you might try to disguise the strength of that hand, but she raises it up. And Thorne, boy, I don't get that call, Barry. I mean, Kathy Liebert in first position has just shown a lot of strength. I don't know what hand Thorne thinks he can beat with an ace-4. Unless he thinks that Kathy Liebert has an ace-3.
I don't know. Bay with a jack-3.
And although he's getting about 4-1 on the call here, I think he's going to have to dump it. He does.
So two players. And Liebert has Thorne pretty dominated. On the flop, deuce 5-8. That's no help.
Thorne picks up an inside straight draw. And that check, Barry, I think is meant to set a trap. Yes, it looks like it's worked. Kathy Liebert seemed to be setting up a check raise. This is the time to do it. Now, she could get cute and just call here. But when you've got the jacks, you always feel a little bit vulnerable to the queen, king, or ace coming on the next card. Cards that Thorne very reasonably could have in his hand, and we know he does have the ace. She probably thinks he has something along the lines of an ace-10 or better. And she's counting out a raise.
Yep. 65,000 more. See if that lures Thorne in.
65,000.
Thorne must fold here. Why? He goes all in.
Wow.
And Kathy Liebert can't call quickly enough.
You bet.
A major blunder by Mr. Thorne. Kathy Liebert, the beneficiary of that move. Thorne looking for a 3 or an ace.
It's a 7.
Now a 6 will help him as well. 3, 6, or ace. Otherwise, he's out.
He's out.
Thank you.
So Thorne is gone at the hands of Kathy Liebert. He'll finish in 25th position, $15,691. Not a bad payday, but not nearly what he wanted. But he is in there against some very good players. So 24 players remaining. We started at 418. It's a wrap for this week. For my partner, Michael Konik, I'm Barry Tompkins. We'll see you next time.